Hey everyone, welcome to the Fargo 3D Printing Show. Jake Clark, John Schneider. It's been a while.
Yes,
For me, it's been a while. It's been a year now, I think, a little over.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's been a while even since we've done, since Eric and I have done a video too.
Yeah.
We've been busy with a lot of stuff. That's really what it comes down to. So, Jake, you want to kind of go into why it's been even longer since people have seen you?
Yeah, so I'm actually no longer in Fargo, North Dakota. I am just had to get out, man. Just had to get out.
Yeah, you moved to the balmy environment of where?
Minneapolis, Minnesota. So 4 hours for those of you that drive slow, 2.5 if you drive fast like me. It was a new lap record. So that's kind of where I've been. I actually took a mechanical drafting position down there in the wastewater industry, designing aerators for wastewater plants. So that's kind of what I've been doing for the last year.
Crappy deal.
It is, you know, giant crap stirs, giant shit stirs. But, you know, it's actually kind of interesting, you know, because when you go into, you know, I came from wastewater. You know, my dad's been doing wastewater. Born!
You simply adopted the turd. I was born in it, molded by it.
Molded by it, yes. Yeah, I mean, my dad's been in wastewater for a very long time, since the 70s. So I grew up around that. My first job was in wastewater, designing plastic components. That's where I got into 3D printing. And then when we went down to the cities, my now wife decided, hey, I want to move to the cities, you know, get a job and kind of develop her career and things like that. So that's when we made the jump, and it was actually really cool that I got to go work for this wastewater company, because wastewater is one of the very few industries where you can, you know, make an actual direct change to something, you know, because we're introducing oxygen into the water. So now, you know, good bacteria, so the water will break down so that you can actually, you know, drink it. The company as a whole will actually do zero liquid discharge. So you actually take wastewater, treat it, and then so you can turn it back around and bottle it or drink it again. So it's really interesting. They've international company. They've got a project over in Africa that they're doing where they're taking lake water and turning it into drinking water. So one of the few industries that you can actually make a change in the world. And so that's really what is really cool about it. But yeah, so I've been down there doing that. Been helping out a little bit with some Fargo 3D stuff. Here and there, you know, you guys have been holding your own quite well, and then kind of my next step is you know, continuing with the drafting side of things, but I'm actually getting into my own podcast sort of thing, kind of live stream stuff in the Formula One esports side. So I'll actually, because I really miss doing this format. You know, I don't get to have, you know, Faldy and you in it unless you want to drive to Minneapolis or do a Skype call, but I doubt you're interested in that. But, you know, I really miss this kind of format and talking to the fans, talking to people out in, you know, a little bit of a different industry, obviously, but I really miss doing that. So that's kind of what I'm getting back to in my spare time now, now that things have settled down and got to see what, you know, what I have time for. And I'm hoping maybe even to come back and do some more podcasts with you guys via Skype or something. We'll see what happens. But so those are kind of the things that I'm up to in the last year, and it's been fun. You know, I miss working with you guys on a lot of the 3D printing stuff, and because you guys actually got a pretty big project in printing. Can you dive into a little bit of what you've been doing here?
Yeah, so this was one that came out of the blue for us. Yeah, I know.
Terrible puns.
In January, we had Good Housekeeping magazine reach out to us and asked if we would be able to do custom cookie cutters. Apparently they've worked on projects like this in the past, and the people they were working with before that were no longer in business. And so they came to us and handed over just some basically hand drawings, so just a vector art file. And then Eric was able to do the design work, turn them into cookie cutters, and then we 3D printed them. These actually ended up in the April issue of Good Housekeeping magazine. We ended up on the part of the front cover, and Eric Faldy's shoes are very, very,
he's
very
hitting
noisy.
everything.
Yeah. Very Eastery. I should note that we're filming this on April 19th. So
Easter weekend.
Easter weekend. So this
on
ended
Good
up.
Friday.
It is
On
Good Friday. It's a very good
yeah,
Friday.
It is. It's nice.
So
out.
we ended up on part of the front cover, or I should say the cookies did. And then Good Housekeeping also did a large full-page image of the cookies, and then another quarter page. I think you'd consider that a quarter page, with a link directly to the website that has the cookie cutters available for sale. So this was a really big project. I think we ended up selling around 850 cookie cutter sets. So we had all of our printers going.
How many?
850 orders.
850 orders.
Yep.
So how many printers? And how many printers did you utilize? Let's go with that one first.
I think it was around 10 printers total, and I think
Nine here, you, and then 2 outsiders.
Yeah, so 12 total. So 12 printers total, running 24/7. Well, essentially 24/7, as close as you can get to it, for about 4 weeks. I think that's about how long that campaign was. And yeah, I mean, it was a really cool project, and it introduced us to an entirely different customer. So most of the customers that come to Fargo 3D Printing, they purchase spare parts on the website, usually meaning that they already have a 3D printer, so they're technically savvy already. But the customer that's coming in and is both reading a physical magazine and then purchasing cookie cutters, we had a lot of customers named Gladys and Ethel. A few Marges in there as well. I mean, really just an older demographic. Normally for Fargo 3D Printing, we trend heavily on the male side. With this, it was almost exclusively female. And we had quite a few customers that didn't have an email address, so they weren't able to place an order through the website. So we implemented a new phone ordering system, which in the past we haven't really done because the customers that would place a phone order were so far and few between, it didn't make sense to implement.
Yeah, and we didn't have the infrastructure at that point in time. We were really trying to grow things and trying to develop spare parts. So yeah, we didn't really have an infrastructure to support that.
But what this project's done is enabling us to hire on more people so that we can expand more for Fargo 3D Printing. Not just the custom 3D printing services, although we are going to have a dedicated person that's all they do is custom 3D printing. They'll be online during the day, available via chat or phone, so if people have questions about the parts that they're uploading or wondering more about the different materials, they'll be able to get some more hands-on guidance and assistance with that. But then we're also going to be bringing on more spare parts for a larger variety of 3D printers. For example, the Ender 3 direct drive kits. It's an upgrade that takes the Bowden style extruder from the Ender 3, changes it over to a direct drive. There's really no firmware or software changes you need to make. It's a drop-in replacement. But being able to offer more spare parts for the Ender 3, the Ender 5, more Creality 3D printers. But now we've got the bandwidth with hiring more people to be able to address more of these things. We're also going to be hopping back on the content wagon for the last year. Eric's really been helping out with the spare parts and the custom 3D printing, which has meant that he hasn't been able to do what he was hired for in the first place, which was multimedia, helping out with the how-to videos, doing the filming, editing, posting, all of that stuff.
And that was kind of like, that was part of my side of things too. Like you hear a lot of my voice on the voiceovers, and maybe you will still, I don't know, we'll work that out, but that's what I was helping, and like you'd see my hands in the printers a lot during those videos, and yeah, we haven't had anybody in this last year. We've kind of reevaluated, I think, a lot of the things we do and just kind of figured out what's the best way to do things.
Right. So, I mean, that's going to be one of the big changes moving forward is you're just going to be seeing a lot more stuff from us, like it or not. I mean, just don't watch the stuff you don't want to watch. But we're planning on just kind of going back to our roots on the content side of things and really on the business side of things too. So, I mean, our core focuses are going to be spare parts and upgrade parts and custom 3D printing.
Yeah, and I mean,
and also having a better retail presence in Fargo, North Dakota. We moved into this building last summer, and it's much more retail friendly than our old location was. It's really difficult to understand how not retail friendly the old place was without having a walkthrough video of it.
Yeah, I mean the big thing was like you walked in and then it's like, okay, where do I go? Like there's a wall with a bathroom, like and then they'd like kind of like stall downstairs and then finally walk upstairs and it'd just be kind of like, I don't even know how to describe it. It's, there's just desks and printers everywhere, and
it's not a walk-in, browse, oh, I'm going to buy this spool of filament, and then pay your,
it's not like walking into like a boutique shop where what, and you can browse things and look at things.
So that's one thing that we're going to be changing here. And the market's different too. In Fargo, there's enough people that have 3D printers that it makes sense to be a walk-in location for having 3D printing filament available. Before, it was maybe educational institutions and a few businesses, so it didn't make sense to have it so that just Joe on the street can walk in and buy filament. But now there's that need, and we plan to meet that need.
And you have 100 some people in the Fargo meetup group and for specifically 3D printing?
I think Faldy, you might have
80?
Is it a little bit?
In the Fargo 3D printing meetup group, there's the Fargo Makerspace group too, and I don't.
I was thinking about the actual Meetup.com one.
I don't know Meetup because we don't use it anymore.
Okay,
but that's another thing that we're looking to get back into is having more meetups and having more regular meetups. Yeah, so we actually have one next week. I don't know if this video. Yeah, the 25th of April.
We will or we did, one of the two, depending on when the video got released.
But we're trying to get back into doing more of the community-based things that we did before, because frankly, when we were going through that big transition period, we simply didn't have the time or the focus to be able to do it.
Well, yeah, when you're down a couple people, then and they're focused on something else completely, they can't dedicate their time to this. And that's one of the things that I didn't like about going to the cities, because I kind of I wanted to help keep creating content for you guys and talking to our viewers and our fans, because you went to MRRF and there's a couple people there that was like, hey, when are you going to do more podcasts? We really like it. Or
shout out to Daniel, by the way, if you're listening. I'm probably gonna butcher the pronunciation of your last name, but Daniel Marais, the designer of the 3D Benchy, got a chance to talk to him at Midwest Rep Fest. In addition to a bunch of other people. We're not as involved in kind of the 3D printing community online as we have been, but it was nice to be able to meet in person people that we've talked to online.
Iceland, Zesty Brian from Australia.
Yep, so Zesty Brian from Australia, the designer and manufacturer of the Zesty Tech extruder. Martin, and I'm not going to be able to say that Icelandic last name.
Don't look at me, I don't know. I butchered.
But now, of course, I can't remember all the people that we met, but that was our first time ever going to Midwest Rep Fest, and we are every year now. That was absolutely amazing. My voice sounded like it does right now, which is dealing with some allergies, but we had just talked so much. So much. Yeah, this has nothing to do with...
I mean, when you look at when we went to the Seattle printing show, our very
back in 2014.
Yeah, where we started our podcast on that drive.
That's right.
That's
right. We had that.
We had
that snowball mic, and I think we just set it up on the dashboard.
Actually, I think you were hanging on to it, and then you're going back and forth, and I'm driving, we can do that.
Man.
And terrible road noise.
My
car is
24 hours worth of driving each way, so we had plenty of time to do it.
Yeah, but when you went to that trade show, that's what we both had barely enough time to get away to eat McDonald's or go make more copies of brochures. And when we were talking last, you said that was even more people.
Oh yeah, they're even more at MRRF. Well, and the thing is, at Midwest Rep Fest, they've got you crammed in there like sardines, because it's basically a 4-H fairgrounds. That's where it's at. It is not a convention center. There are not 8 to 12 foot aisles between the tables. There's maybe a 4-foot aisle.
Got people in suits saying, no, you can't carry that in?
No, it is not a union shop. Let's put it that way. It's basically, hey, there's tables, first come, first serve, and just kind of,
So it's like a festival. You got people just running down the hill into the convention center with their printers and their things.
We weren't there early enough to witness that, but from the sounds of it, that's pretty close to what happened. Because they said, okay, you can start setting up at 3. But then they got the key for the building at 1, but there were people waiting outside the building already at 11 in the morning. It's crazy. But yeah, it was just very cool. It was a really, really fun experience.
I'm bummed that I didn't get to come out there and hang out with you guys, because I think that'd been really cool to do that. And it sounded like that was one of the more interesting shows that we've been to in the last.
Well, and we're going to be going to East Coast Rep Fest, so we'll have to see if you can come along for that.
Maybe.
I mean, you're going to be more. I mean, it's more to do with your schedule than anything else. But then, certainly next year's Midwest Rep Fest. I mean, Indiana's not that. It's not that far.
Are you guys thinking about doing Rapid this year at all?
We're going to be.
I don't know
we're
what
going to be
happens.
attending Rapid. It's still up in the air how it's going to be, what we're going to be doing as far as exhibiting. So. When we go, it's going to be as more as 3D Fuel than it's going to be as Fargo 3D printing.
Yeah.
So even at MRRF, we were there representing 3D Fuel and to a lesser degree Fargo 3D printing. We were primarily there for 3D Fuel, but then we had a couple of the guys from the Fargo 3D printer repair shop as well, and they had. I mean, they really enjoyed that show too. So.
Yeah, because that was kind of the other thing too that we've done over the last year is kind of spin that out and you know, have somebody else really focus in on that and really dedicate themselves to that.
Yeah.
And John's
John O, different John.
Different John.
But he's really, I mean, he's really taken that in this last year. So John O, former employee of Fargo 3D Printing, we spun out Fargo 3D Printer Repair, and he's now running that on his own and kicking butt, from what I can understand. I mean, they have more printers in that shop right now. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, it's the amount of printers that they go through is phenomenal.
And that was kind of a point, you know, last year before I went down to the cities. You know, we were trying to figure out, like, you know, how do you have two segments of the business, and how to care for each one in a certain way, and that was really the best way to do it. Yeah, he, like you said, he's kicking butt, doing great stuff with that. Where is Rapid this year?
Detroit. So we're planning on driving to that one too because
MRRF was in.
That was in Indiana. Yeah, Goshen, Indiana. So it's going to be. I think it's going to be a longer drive to Detroit than it was to get to Goshen. Yeah, because you got to go around Lake Michigan. But it should be good. I mean, we all traveled pretty well. So last time it was 2 people, so myself and then Todd on our side, and then John O and Eric Atchison on the Fargo 3D Repair side. And I think for this next time around, we're going to have 3 people from each team that are going. So yeah, I mean, we're going to have to get a bigger vehicle because we just had
Gotta get a Tahoe. Gotta get a land whale.
A Nissan Pathfinder was barely workable for 4 people. You can't recline the seats, so sleeping in that thing was a bit of a.
I didn't know that John O and Eric were going. So like when you saw pictures, like, oh, we're packing the car, and I'm like, guys, you're being a noob about this. How many trade shows have we gone to? You got to lay that back seat down. And then when I saw that John O and Eric was there, I was like, oh yeah, that makes more sense now. Like no wonder there was, you know, but you could always do the what's the family that. Starts with a G. I can't think of it. But anyway.
Good story, Jake.
Well, it's an old like 90s movie with a family. They go on road trips.
National Lampoon's Family Vacation?
Nah.
The Griswolds?
The Griswolds. Yes. You gotta do like the Griswolds with the thing on top and the back and. You know,
I don't know that would. I don't know that is street legal.
We actually have one that, you know, my dad has one that you can strap to the top of your roof. We've done it before. If you want, you know, if you're
riding it a lot.
You can. I would not recommend it.
Yeah.
I mean, but and we did not go to CES this year. We skipped that, and I don't know if we'll ever really go back to CES. Fortunately, unfortunately,
there's just not much. There's not much value to either company doing it or going to that because it's.
It's shoved in a corner now. If you looked at the last CES layout, it's like shoved in an offside corner by like USBs or something.
Well, that's kind of indicative of the 3D printing industry as a whole, though. It's much heavier on the industrial side.
Yes.
So shows like Rapid, IMTS, AMUGs.
AMUG were Form 3.
Where Formlabs released the Form 3 and the Form 3L.
Yeah, and then Stratasys got into the SLA DLP market. I think they announced another Fortis-style desktop machine. So there's a couple things that came out of that.
Yeah, the industrial side is big, but the consumer side, general consumer side, is small. It's not going to be the point where it's like a microwave. I mean, we're just not there yet. There's not a killer app for your general consumer to have a 3D printer, but alongside that, the hobbyist side is growing very, very strongly, and we see that at events like MRRF and IRF. It's Yeah, I mean, apparently last year, I mean, it's grown, I think, 30% over what it was last year. If I don't know if they have final attendance numbers, but that's what it sounded like, just based on the amount of space that was taken up. And next year, they're going to be in a much larger building, still on a fairgrounds, or on that fairgrounds, but yeah, it's just much larger facility for next year.
You gotta get them to come up to Fargo.
You know, that's something that we've...
The Red River...
Todd's sitting over there just kind of off to the side watching us. And so he's our live studio audience.
Clap! See, there we go. You don't have the sign.
But I mean, we kind of tossed that idea around. I mean, maybe not a festival scale event, but there's enough people in the Fargo area that are into 3D printing. There's actually a few different businesses in the Fargo area that are 3D printing focused. Proto-aesthetics, while 3D printing's not their core thing anymore, they still do plenty of 3D printing. There's the universities that are doing 3D printing.
NDSU with their makerspace that's growing.
Yes.
I'm not sure about MSUM with their makerspace.
That's still in flux.
It's complicated, maybe. I don't know. I haven't been a part of that in about a year.
And then the Moorhead school system, they're adding
that is
well, I mean,
cool.
what would you call that, Todd? Is that a...
It's like an industrial arts center.
Yeah, so like an industrial arts center. It's basically vocational. It's like a high school level VOTEC facility, which is massive, because I mean there's so much opportunity.
It's going to an old Sam's Club building, which
so
is
talk
perfect.
About a great reuse of
it's
big box
boxy.
stores.
And
I mean, there's demand for. I mean, I think there's. I think Todd was saying that one of the electricians in town, they're basically paying $25 an hour just to be a tool carrier. It's not even not even an apprentice at that point. But they simply can't hire enough people. There's simply not enough people with the skills. It's not even at this point, it's not even a wage issue. It's just there's simply not enough people that have gone into the trades, and that's not going to get automated anytime soon.
No, you look at drafting, right? You look at the industry that I'm within, and you look at Minneapolis as a demographic. I bet you there is 5 to 15 jobs that get posted that is CAD related each day. And that's everything from architectural to medical to mechanical, both mechanical devices, like mechanisms, but also like HVAC, because that's another term for mechanical, right?
Sure.
So yeah, there's really some interesting things on that side just for drafting. And yeah, there, like a couple of companies that I know, they have, 15 to 20 draftsmen just for one thing. There's teams of draftsmen, and you just don't, coming from Fargo, like, a couple places have 2 or 3 draftsmen, but also they have like a fleet of draftsmen.
Yeah, it's just a different scale.
Yeah, and every one of my college classmates, if they wanted a job, they got a job, and it was a pretty good paying job too. And a lot of the people that we know within the vocation schools, if they want a job, you got a job.
Yeah.
And it paid well.
Right.
Compared, and $20,000-$30,000 of debt versus,
Yeah, so, vocational school, much lower cost to attend.
You've also seen the schools now adopting more of the first robotics, best robotics, a lot of the robotics competitions. And so like something like what Moorhead school districts are doing with that building is really going to play into, that sort of environment and really promote that side of things.
Right.
I mean, I wish I had that.
I didn't have exposure to that. I mean, I went to a small school. I had a graduating class of like 69 or 70. They're simply, I thought an engineer drove a train. I had no idea what. I had no idea what that was. My parents, I had a stay-at-home mom. My dad grew up farming and then worked road construction. So
you probably had a welding class, and that was probably it.
Yeah, just a very basic shop
shop
class. Yeah, it wouldn't even be the entire semester. It would be 8 weeks. So 8 weeks of a metals class, 8 weeks of a woods class, but that was it. I mean, my dad's a woodworker, so I understood more than more
Did you
than
guys?
most,
small engines.
There was a small engines class, but that wasn't part of our, they were called flex classes. So one class period, you rotated through 5 or 6 different classes throughout the year. So you'd have, metals, woods, essentially home ec, like one was a cooking class, another one was a sewing class. I'm trying to remember what the other ones were. I think one was like a business class. So yeah, it was.
How to balance checkbook.
Yeah, honestly, I mean that should have been required. That should have been.
It needs to be
that was an
required.
optional
It needs
class.
it needs to be required in everyday life. I mean, I learned how to sign a check when I was in what, 6th grade.
Yeah, how to balance a checkbook, and then how to fill out a 1040 EZ for doing your taxes. Just simple stuff. That.
See, that's what college classes should be. But I digress.
Yeah, we could. we could.
But
See, we should have a podcast about that where we just talk about
life. You know, I made a really good spaghetti and meatballs the other day. No.
Yeah.
But I mean, when you look at that, that's kind of how I feel like 3D printing has kind of started to push that envelope a little bit, and
Well,
kind of
it helps get people more excited about it because I mean it's a cool thing to be.
it's easy to
it's
grasp
cool.
your head around, and it's very tangible versus like a machine shop. It's a little bit more intangible in the sense because you got to have a little bit more on the the skills side to do that. Where 3D printing, yes, you can download, and yes, there is skills when you have to design, but it's a little bit more easier to grasp for people right from the get-go
Yeah.
than putting a block in and machining it. So all of a sudden, I think that's where it was kind of a starting point for a lot of these things that are coming, like the center that Morehead Schools District is doing. So it'll be interesting to see how many 3D printers that they utilize in that space.
Yeah, I agree.
So.
Was there anything else you wanted to talk about? I know I mean, it's been kind of a.
Yeah.
Eric, was there anything else that we were going to talk about?
I think we covered everything.
Okay.
A year's worth of stuff crammed into what, 15, 20 minutes now?
Yeah, so we're not quite sure what the format is going to look like for this moving forward. Some of it is just going to be as Eric gets freed up to be able to do more video and content work, really kind of figuring out what format works better. We're experimenting with this as a backdrop right now. We're going to do something a little different where there's going to be more Fargo 3D printing signage around. So it's going to take a little bit before we really know for sure what this is going to be. We don't know if we're going to try and have it be a weekly thing again, or who's going to be on it. If we're going to bring Jake in sometimes, if it's even going to be me that's in it. Some of the employees that we have coming on, it may be where they're the ones that are talking about stuff, or they dive more into a specific topic. So if you have any ideas or suggestions, we're certainly open to it. Doesn't mean we're going to do it, but
Throw them in the comments.
yeah, throw them in the comments down below. Don't forget to smash that like button. Eric's just shaking his head.
These are the things.
Disappointment.
These are the things that I'm not going to carry into my Twitch stream and my YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, this is how not to have a YouTube channel at the end of your closeout.
Do what you want.
This isn't a revenue stream. So
No.
No, it's not. It's not. We don't make a living on this. We just do it for fun, and
Yeah, YouTube, demonetize this.
please don't. Well, they're probably searching for things like that.
We should. What's a copyrighted song that we could hum a few bars on?
No, thank you. I'm not just because I went to Concordia for one semester does not make me a singer. You're in the
true.
choir. You're a choir boy.
Don't
Come
look at
on.
me. Yeah,
You were in karaoke last night. It's not. Yeah.
that's right. I've got friends in low places. That was at a place called the Troll Bar. You don't get much more Norwegian than that. And the reason it's called the Troll Bar, trolls everywhere.
Look at who they attract.
Me and old people. A lot of retirees, silver sneakers.
Sons of Norway.
Yeah,
so-
I wouldn't be surprised if I found you under a bridge, trip trapping and yelling at people. So.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I think that about covers it. So again, thanks for watching, those of you who do. And
welcome back, maybe.
yeah, maybe welcome back to Jake and just. Well, I think he meant welcome back to the fans. Yeah,
the fans, welcome back. I don't know if I'll be here, like John said. Maybe I can do some Skype stuff if I get my my home podcast stuff up in quality. Maybe I can do a little bit better than just straight Skype. So we'll see how much money my wife gives me to do that.
You'll get a budget.
I have to. Yeah. See, now this is where she's probably like sitting somewhere right now. Oh, he's talking about things that require money. Get a text to her.
Her wifey senses are tingling.
Exactly. It's so.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks again, everyone. We'll catch you next time.
Turned off. That was good timing.
Perfect timing.
15 minutes.
Nailed it.
Battery?
15 minutes.
It was about 35.
I don't know. I had the same conversation about Daisy Ridley. Like, the Force! And like, who does this except for like little kids asking for lollipops?
I'm gonna just, I don't know, man. Like, I like her.